We're on time, we're right, Jackie.
It's streaming now.
Streaming now. Good morning everyone. Welcome to this special meeting of the Tablelands Regional Council to adopt our budget for the 2021-2022 financial year. Do we have apologies, leave of absence?
It's an apology from Hillary, Mr. Mayor. She's has some mild symptoms of living in Townsville on the weekend, so it's isolated until she gets a COVID test and result.
Very good, thank you. Any more apologies? Okay, could I ask everyone to stand, please? I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. Please be seated. Councillors, officers, do we have any declarations of any conflicts of interest? No, thank you. We'll go on to item 6.1, adoption of the 2021-2022 budget and operational plan. So if we can perhaps have the first motion up there, Jackie, please. So councillors, we have a series of motions that we need to go through today. Many of them have to be done individually. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the first motion, and we'll get the ball rolling. Councillor Hodge is moving. Councillor Wilts is seconding. And councillors, I'll go straight to the budget speech. And then we'll each councillor will be able to talk after that. I am pleased to present the Tablelands Regional Council budget for the 2021-2022 financial year. This council's second budget takes stock of ongoing COVID impacts and some other significant challenges. Land valuations have been recently reviewed by the Valuer General's Office and laid squarely at the feet of council. We have deliberated hard on minimising impacts of these land valuation changes, whilst ensuring we can raise sufficient revenue to deliver essential services and a significant capital works program. And against that, the budget has been prepared with one eye firmly fixed on our long-term financial plan. Today's $92.8 million budget includes $30.3 million capital investment and $62.5 million in operations. If we look at the capital side, there is much programmed for a region of this size. We have over $7 million in our water quality improvement program, which includes a new reservoir, treatment plant and pipelines in the Ravenshoe, Millstream, Cassowary Heights and Bellevue Estate areas. Council is very committed to delivering potable water. Roads, bridges and drains at $14.5 million are a big ticket item. Council has retained its momentum sealing gravel roads from last year, especially those roads struggling under heavier and more frequent vehicle movements related to greater agricultural diversity and productivity. A focus is also placed on the impact of dust, especially where homes are affected. The Duncan Brown Bridge in Malanda is due for replacement, and bridges on Sluice Creek and Merrigallen roads are also up for much needed work. These bridges alone will total $4.4 million. The finalisation of Atherton's Priors Creek master plan is scheduled this year. When we come to land valuations, I'd suggest they have provided the biggest budgetary challenge in terms of our rates calculations that this council will face during the current term. When we look closely at land valuations, we have some extraordinary numbers. It's one thing to have arguably the most valuable agricultural land in the country. It's another thing to be the local government authority that's charged with managing the impacts of significant valuation spikes that have reached every corner of our region. 90% of property valuations have increased and many are significant. This is unprecedented and tells us that the demand for quality ag land is off the scales, that intensification and consolidation of ag lands is higher than ever before, and that demand for secondary ag lands with well-drained soils and general frost tolerance is red hot. If Council directly applied the land valuations we received from the Valuer General to our rates formula, it would have pushed revenue up by 15% from last year. Of course, this was never going to be acceptable, so we set about establishing what revenue we needed in the coming year to deliver essential services and works. An increase in general rate revenue of 3.5% meets our increased operational costs. Fixed costs such as electricity, insurance, our enterprise bargaining agreement, telecommunications and internet have steadily increased over 24 months. This rate increase will be the first in our term. In order to achieve an increase of 3.5% from general rate revenue, we applied 3 tools to our differential rating system to mitigate and manage the impacts of large land valuation changes. Where we could, we made adjustments to the cents in the dollar, adjusted the minimum rate and averaged land valuations over 2 years. In applying these tools, we concentrated efforts on the biggest swathe of land valuations. There are properties where valuations have gone up 70%, 80% and over 100%, but properties with such increases are in the minority. It's been very difficult to rearrange the rates on these properties without delivering unreasonable outcomes for the majority of ratepayers. The outcome is that we have 87% of properties with a rates increase of up to 5%, 9% of properties with a rates increase of between 5 and 10%, and 3% of properties with a rates increase greater than 10%. We have done everything that we reasonably could to equitably share the burden. Notwithstanding the challenges posed by valuations and rates deliberations, Council continues to invest in its reserves to ensure long-term solutions to water quality and reliability, with a 4.96% increase for water access and a 13-cent per kilolitre increase for consumption. There is also a 1.5% increase in waste charges and 4% for sewerage. These charges are essential to support operating activities and prepare for facility upgrades. Council continues to support pensioners and community groups with concessions, grants and a reduced minimum general rate charge. We will work hard to secure grants and subsidies from both levels of government, and these will total more than $20 million this year. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank councillors for their contribution to this budget. It has been a major challenge and we've worked constructively with community in mind. I also acknowledge our management team, particularly our Manager of Finance and her team, for the very strong effort they made in constructing the budget and dealing with the land valuation challenges. Our new CEO, although only here for a short time, has steered this budget development, and I would like to personally, especially acknowledge his contribution to this critical document and plan. Councillors, I submit to you the 2021-2022 budget.
Very good.
Thanks, councillors. We might take this opportunity to give each councillor an opportunity to say a few words. I might go to you first, Councillor Billney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Erica, our Manager of Finance, and her team for the difficult and somewhat time-consuming task of formulating today's budget, and I note the complexities attached with the land valuations as stated by the Mayor. This is the second budget of this council, and last year council froze the rate due to COVID-19. This council has made the challenging and difficult decision to increase the general rates. This budget is based on fairness and equity to all that reside in this wonderful Tablelands region and reflects council's commitment to be progressive in its appetite to fund ongoing and future infrastructure needs and meet the aspirations and expectations of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Billney. Councillor Hayden.
We live in an era of great change, and new challenges are presenting themselves daily. We are caretakers of this amazing and diversified part of the world and continue seeing change and new challenges. Council endeavour to deliver the best outcomes for the future of our region. The magnitude of managing the expectations and requirements of Council is never more evident than during Council's budget considerations. Council has worked to work the best possible way for a positive and sustainable outcome. While I'm sometimes super happy in the success we achieve, I think it also steals the focus of our smaller towns in the area. Locals also in smaller locations like to see infrastructure and have no acknowledgement in the town they live. So I do acknowledge the terrific work of our dedicated council staff, especially the Finance Department, who have helped us finalise the documentation of the 2021-22 budget. And I would also like to thank my fellow councillors for an active discussion on all areas we have covered and to come to a final decision for the common good of the region.
Thank you, Councillor Hayden. Councillor Clifton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, councillors and staff. First thing I want to do is I want to applaud everyone with respect to the formation of this budget. It's been hard because of a couple of curveballs. The first curveball is the one that the Mayor has referred to, and that is the change in valuations, which have had a significant effect upon our rate base, a significant effect upon our community. The second thing I think that we understate, that could be understated, and I want to say from my point of view is very important, is that we have worked over the last year in a bit of a leadership vacuum. We've had an interim CEO, but I fervently believe that leadership vacuum has now been successfully filled, and we can look forward to the next year in a much more stable way. I know from my personal point of view, the things that I thought I knew when I was first elected by the people in my community to this council, things that I quite different from things that I know now, and I look forward to implementing this budget with our leadership team now firmly established. I think it'll make a big difference.
Thanks, Councillor Clifton. Councillor Wilkes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I really think, going on from the words from the Mayor, we have delivered a responsible budget for our community. And I would like to personally thank the financial team, especially the way that it has been broken down to a way that those of us councillors that aren't particularly financially savvy with the systems have been able to understand. And it's been very difficult for our financial team. We've thrown a lot of challenges in your direction, and there's been continuous and ongoing requests for assistance or amendments. So I thank you for that. Mr. CEO, I thank you. You've come into it late. Absolutely applaud the ownership that you've taken of us and given us leadership, and again breaking it down to a level that I am very comfortable in being part of those financial discussions. And just reiterating what Councillor Hayden has said, I thank you to the Mayor and my fellow councillors. It has been challenging along the way. There's been a lot of argument, discussion, whatever, but we're basically in agreement that we have developed and delivered a responsible budget for our community.
Thanks, Councillor Wilts. Councillor Hodge?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I don't think I have any more to add, really, to what you've said and the rest of the councillors. As Bernie said, it's a responsible budget, and I look forward to working with the new CEO, the senior management team and all the councillors. You know, it's time we settle down there within the organisation, and let's get on with it. So, well done.
Thanks, Councillor Hodge. Councillor Cartier?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. I reiterate what's been said by everyone here already today. Not much more I can add, but again, I'd like to thank all my fellow councillors. I think we've got a good bunch of councillors this time round, and we all seem to work together. And in mostly an army, we're never ever going to agree on everything all the time, but that's just the way things are. So I think we've got a good council. We've set a responsible budget for the next financial year, I believe. And again, we've been in the chair we're in the role for a little over 12 months now, so we can really take ownership of this budget. And I think with our new CEO, we have a clear direction of where we want to go. We want to turn the ship around and head it in a direction we think is going to serve the community really well. And I'm really looking forward to that next 12 months working with everyone to achieve that. I especially want to thank our finance team, Erica and her team. Well done. It was very difficult. We all know the new land valuations have really spiked badly and gone through the roof in many cases. So it's been very challenging in that regard. So thank you, Erica, and your team, and thank you, fellow councillors, senior staff, mayor, and I look forward to the next 12 months working with everybody.
Thanks, Councillor Cardew. Jackie, can you just slide that first motion up onto the board? So yeah, we've got this first motion. We've got a move by Councillor Hodge, seconded by Councillor Wilts. Would anyone like to say anything further before we go to a vote? Those in favour of the motion? Carried. Thank you. And now we'll go to the next one. Is that the next one?
Yeah.
Sorry. So do we have a mover and a seconder for the motion that we've got on the screen? Councillor Cardew and Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. For the motion that's up on the screen now, do we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilts and a seconder. Councillor Cardew. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the motion on the screen? Councillor Clifton and Councillor Wilts. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the motion on the screen? Councillor Hodge moving. Councillor Cardew. Those in favour? Carried. That's it, Jackie?
Oh, one more, there's two more.
There's two more, yep. Do we have a mover for the motion on the screen? Councillor Clifton? And Councillor Wills. Those in favour? Thank you.
Then this last one,
Thank you.
that just takes us into the rest of it.
And do we have a mover for this motion on the screen? Councillor Wilts, and a seconder? Councillor Hayden. Thank you. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
No, that's fine, Mr. Mayor, it's just special charges now.
Okay. Special charges?
Move and second for that.
Sorry?
I'm just checking with Gary, whether you need a move and second for that.
Yes, please. Just one motion to keep the funds.
So just one motion for this one?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Sorry. Overall plan, Malanda Sewage Scheme.
Yes.
If we could please move that.
Yep. Overall plan Malanda Sewage Scheme. Do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Hodge, moving. Seconder? Councillor Wilts. Those in favour? Carried.
Annual implementation plan, please.
Annual implementation plan for Malanda Sewage Scheme. Do we have a mover? Councillor Bilney. Seconder? Councillor Clifton. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Special charge for the Malanda Sewage Scheme, Mr. Mayor.
Special charge for the Malanda Sewage Scheme. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Clifton. And seconded, Councillor Hayden. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
That's fine, if you close. Emergency management levy, the management fire and rescue levy, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors, emergency management fire and rescue levy. We have a mover for the motion on the screen. Councillor Wilts moving and Councillor Bilney seconding. Those in favour? Carried.
Rural fire levy, Mr. Mayor.
Rural fire levy, rural fire brigade levy. Do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Clifton and seconded Councillor Hodge. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
6, Mr. Mayor, sewage utility charges.
Sewerage utility charges. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Cardew moving.
We've moved on through a few and then I check with my minute secretary if she can keep up on them.
Yeah, no, all good.
We've got Councillor Cardew moving, Councillor Wilts seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Part 7, Mr. Mayor, water utility charges.
You just get that motion up there, Jackie.
Yeah.
It'll pop up. Thank you. Thank you. So that motion on the screen, councillors, water utility charges, a mover and a seconder. Councillor Clifton moving, Councillor Hodge seconding. Those in favour?
Mr Mayor, waste management utility charges.
Waste management utility charges, a mover and a seconder, councillors. Councillor Bilney, moving, and Councillor Wilts, seconding. Those in favour? Carried, thank you.
Mr Mayor, levy payment of the rates and charges.
Levy and payment, councillors, the motion is up there on the screen. Those in favour? Councillor Hodge and Councillor Clifton seconding. Those in favour? Carried, thank you.
Mr Mayor, discount on rates and charges.
Discount on rates and charges, councillor, a mover and a seconder. Was that your hand? Councillor Bilney, moving, and Councillor Wilts, seconding. Those in favour? Carried.
12, Mr Mayor, concessions.
11 interest.
Sorry, 11 interest, beg your pardon. I've got it in this one.
Interest. Councillors, a mover and a seconder for interest. Councillor Clifton, moving. Councillor Cardew, seconding. Those in favour? Carried, thank you.
Water usage concession policy.
Are you still one in front?
Still.
So, yeah.
12
Live my life that way, councillors, always out in front.
Concessions. A mover and a seconder for concessions, councillors. Oops. Councillor Clifton and Councillor Wilts. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 13. Water usage concession policy. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Hayden, moving. Seconder. Councillor Clifton. Those in favour? Carried. Item 14. Rates and charges concession policy. Do we have a mover, councillors? Councillor Wilts, moving. A seconder. Councillor Bilney. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Item 15. Adoption of the revenue statement. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hodge, moving. And seconder is Councillor Clifton. Thank you. Those in favour? Carried. 17, adoption, 16, adoption of the operational plan. We have a mover, councillors. Councillor Hodge moving, Councillor Wilts seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Item 17, adoption of financial statements. A mover and a seconder, please, councillors. Councillor Bilney, moving. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wilts. Those in favour? Carried. Item 18, investment policy. Can we have a mover and a seconder, councillors? Councillor Cardew moving and Councillor Clifton seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 19, debt policy. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Hodge moving, Councillor Hayden seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Debt recovery policy, number 20. Can we have a mover and seconder, councillors? Councillor Wilts moving, seconder. Councillor Cardew. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Item 20.1, sorry, 21, I should say. Revenue policy. A mover and a seconder for revenue policy. Councillor Hodge moving, a seconder. Councillor Cardew. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 22, procurement policy. We have a mover and a seconder for procurement policy. Councillor Cardew moving, and a seconder, please. Councillor Hodge seconding. Those in favour? Carried, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm probably more cautious than my predecessors about separate resolutions when there's separate sections of the legislation, but I'd rather be conservative than someone have a go at us later on. So.
Number 23, statement of estimated financial position. We have a mover, please. Councillor Hodge moving, Councillor Bilney seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Happy with it?
Yes. '24, service area maps.
We just pick those up in the working papers type motion, which is
The rest of it?
26. It would be.
There's only a couple more anyway. There's only three more to go.
Okay, well maybe if we just, in respect of the service area maps, receive and note them.
Okay.
Yeah, so councillors, what we'll do with the service area maps, we'll just receive and note them.
Oh, it is there, sorry.
It is,
It's
to be
exactly what it
say
says.
that, yeah. So we just need
Apologies.
to move in second.
Yep, just a minute in a second. Sorry, sorry, Mr Mayor.
So a mover and a seconder, please, for the service area maps. Councillor Clifton and Councillor Bilney seconding. And those in favour? Carried, thank you. 25? We didn't miss any there?
No.
Okay. 25, business activities. A mover and a seconder for business activities. Councillor Clifton moving and Councillor Wilts seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. And last but by no means least, 26, adoption of the budget.
Leave that one for you to move.
I'll be happy to move that one. Thanks, Councillor Hodge. A seconder, please. Councillor Cardew, thank you. Those in favour of adoption of the budget? Carried, thank you. And we've already scheduled our next meeting for Thursday the 29th of July, and that one is in Ravensthorpe. There being no further business?
Be no further business, Mr Mayor.
Meeting closed. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Very good.